Hello, dreamers, and welcome back to PERLA'S Dreams. And again, guys, if you're new here, welcome. We would love to have you. We love having you here. Just a quick reminder, these are general readings, so only take whatever resonates and please leave the rest. So, Aries, we have this energy for you guys during this time where you're wanting to be accepted, flaws and all, regardless of mistakes, regardless of um past transgressions that you may have had, right? So, and now these are just general example, guys. Like, let's say you are a recovering alcoholic or drug addict or whatever it was, and you you've been down this path of um staying clean, right? For the past 10 years. But every time you connect with certain people from your family members or friends or whatever, they bring back the time that you were that drug addict, the time that you were that alcoholic. And it's kind of like, damn, like, when is it going to be the time that you're going to see me for who I am at this moment in time? And what you have to realize, Aries, is that these individuals that continue to pinpoint things from the past, right, are still living there. They themselves have not had the courage, the determination to go ahead and change the things in their own lives that they do not like, to change the things in their life that they are unhappy about. So therefore, in order to make themselves feel any better about themselves, or in order to make themselves feel like they are better than you, they have to bring things back that no longer lives within you, that you no longer participate in. So during this time, it is very important that you begin to limit your time within these spaces, your time within these within these individuals, and really get to a place as to why are you still keeping them around, is kind of like the question. Like, you, and again, the examples that I used were just examples. This could have been anything, right? This could have been like, you may have been the last one out of your group of friends that graduated college, right? But now you are the success, like your success has outshined those that have been in an industry or something longer than you. You may have been a teenage parent, whether mother or father or whatever, and people maybe thought that you were never going to amount to anything. So now that you have reach a certain level of success, people just kind of keep on wanting to bring that back up. And it's kind of like a lot of you, Aries, want to find a place where you're just accepted for who you are, regardless of what happened in the past. And there is this big desire to just be seen. And for a lot of you, this is going to require, again, another level of courage of walking away from certain people, walking away from certain groups that you feel very comfortable in or you feel very familiar with, because of the, it's almost kind of like, why is it that when you meet new people, you feel like you have to like over explain yourself? Because that's kind of like what I'm picking up. It's like, if somebody offers you a drink, let's say, and again, this is just an example, and you're a recovering alcoholic, you could just say, no, thank you. That's it. You don't have to go into like this whole big thing of like, well, I used to drink, I was an alcoholic, and I've been a recovering alcoholic for like 15 years. It's like, not everyone that you meet needs to know your background. Not everybody that you meet needs to know your entire story. So, there's definitely a space there with reflecting upon that. Like, why is it that in order for you to interact with people that you're meeting, like new people that you're meeting or something like that, like you feel like you have to like over explain yourself with certain things? Like, if I go out and I'm in a time frame, right? Because I'm not gonna say that I've never drank or anything like that, but if I'm in a time frame where I'm not drinking at the moment, right? and I go out and somebody says, "Oh, what would you like?" And I would just be like, "Oh, water or whatever, like a soda, whatever." I'm not gonna explain like, "Oh, well, I am fasting for a certain amount of times, or I am spiritually guided not to drink alcohol." Like, I don't have to over explain all of that because everything else behind that no or no thanks, however you want to word it, is personal and is sacred to me, and it doesn't necessarily need to be shared with everybody else, right? So if you think about, like, let's say like fasting is a very good example, right? Sometimes when people are fasting, it's like if they're not telling people that they're fasting or how long they're fasting, it's almost kind of like it's a void, right? It's like, oh no, I have to let people. It's kind of like that energy that I'm picking up here. So like really address or evaluate, let's say, where that energy is coming from. And I feel it's because a lot of you are in this space where you feel like you are unseen. It feels like people don't really see you. So it's almost kind of like you are over explaining yourself. All right, let's go ahead and let's see what else do we have. Be very aware that you are not how can I say it? Let me just move this over because it's gonna drive me crazy. Be aware that you are giving people you're putting people in the correct category in your life. Not every coworker is a friend. Not every colleague is a friend. Not every classmate is a friend. Learn to put people where they belong in your life and not feeling bad about it. You may have a colleague that is a friend outside of work, but that doesn't necessarily mean that all of your colleagues at work need to be your friend. Because there is a sense here where you sometimes get let down a lot by people and you try to play it off like it was okay or whatever, but again, there is a sense this month of a lot of like introspect as to your own behaviors, right? Your own patterns. What patterns have you been following? What patterns have you been stuck in? And how can we get out of those patterns is what I'm seeing. Now, this may irritate a lot of you to hear, but it is definitely going to be a very self-evaluating time frame. And I want to say this is going to be going on for like about a good 3 to 4 weeks, where little things are going to start popping up for you and are going to start making you realize where your patterns lie and how they began and how you can overcome them, right? How you can readjust them. Because these same patterns that you have been stuck in with yourself, right? And the way that you're perceiving the world or the way that you want to be seen is also what is causing this, it's like this gravitational pull of these individuals that you're keeping around that again keep going back to your past. So you've been stuck in like this revolving door, whatever you want to call it. I keep on seeing like this spinning, just kind of like spinning. It's not even like, it doesn't even seem like a like, okay, there you go, like a lazy Susie, whatever these plate thingies are called, lazy Susie, I think that's what they call these spinning thingies. It's kind of like that feeling that I'm picking up of like, okay, I really want to find my tribe. I really want to find people that I can connect with better and all of this stuff. But then again, you're not addressing what's going on within you. It is when recognition comes from other people, when validation comes from other people. It's nice and everything, but it should not be the sole purpose as to why you're doing things. It should not be the sole purpose as to why you're choosing to live your life, if that makes sense. And I feel that, and again, guys, um, if you're new, I the way that these come out, it's like, yeah, I be calling people out. It's like that's kind of like where you have been. It's like you have had a hard time overcoming certain circumstances, and through all these challenges, you may have had people that were celebrating you, were praising you. And now that you're in a more stable condition or a more stable space or something like that, maybe those praises and those celebrations have not been coming as often, or they're not as loud as they used to be. And part of you is still craving that. And it's like, um, what about the validation? What about the celebration? What about the praise that you give yourself? First mode, like before anything else, that celebration, that praise should be coming from you. You should be your number one cheerleader during this time, Aries, as you're navigating these spaces within you that are making you reflect as to why the outsourced validation, the outsourced prize is so important. Uh, and again, like if you, I know that I have a feeling that this reading is probably gonna rub certain people the wrong way, and all I'm gonna say is that I'm just a messenger, and you do with that information whatever you want. Once I close this reading, I go about my life. I don't remember what I said. I don't remember anything. It's just, it is what it is, right? And it's kind of like, this is kind of like, ask spirit for that. Like, whatever you overcame in the past, whatever the challenges were, it's like, okay, there's evidence that that happened. There was evidence that I grew through that and all of that, but I don't have to continue living in that space. So like, if you take a look at like how I do my readings, it's like while I'm in this space, I am doing them. My energy is here, my attention is here, everything is here. But since the message is not for me, once I close the reading, that's it. It's done and over with. I move on with my life. I can see that I made a reading. I can see that I recorded it. I can see that I engaged while I was in the video, but whatever the message was it. And it stays in that space. And that's kind of like what your narrative should be for this time period is that was the story that I lived back then. That was true during that time. Now this is the story that I'm trying to write. This is the story that I'm living at this moment in time. Now am I going to keep on repeating the same story, or am I going to allow myself to write a new story? And to be honest with you, Aries, I feel that for a lot of you, and I'm not trying to be mean here, this is going to go over your head. You are the center of your universe, but you're not the center of the universe. And I feel that some of you have to be humbled in that space of like, okay, because I feel that you're missing the point here that these transactions, these experiences that you had in the past, whether they were an addiction, whether they were financial troubles, whatever they were not meant for you to overcome them so that you can be praised and celebrated. They were meant for you to overcome, grow within those spaces so that then you can go ahead and help others. Now, the way that you help others could be by sharing your story. Maybe you create a workshop, maybe you create some, whatever it is. But it's like somewhere in the midst of it, you got lost in that space, and you allowed your ego, and don't get me at that word, your ego to stay in the driver's seat. So there's many aspects of ourselves, right, that come into play when certain things are happening. I like to say that my ego loves to come out and play when there are certain situations that I have to show up in a certain way, where I have to maybe stand my ground a little more, whatever it is, right? And but I also have to be able to recognize when my ego is wanting to take full control. And I feel that for some of you, overcoming something really puts you in that place where your ego is in the drive seat, and it's like, okay, there's other aspects of you, other parts of you that also want to be seen and want to be heard. Okay. There is a difficult conversation that is going to happen between you and see, I don't want to say so much a significant other. This may be somebody that, because this person seems like they were in a position of authority. This person seems like they hold a lot. Hmm. Hmm. There's some, because the way that I'm okay, the way that I'm looking at it is almost kind of like there is like a supervisor, there's somebody that you have to have a difficult conversation with. Um, but this person stands between you and your next step, like at work or something like that. So some of you may have been holding your word back, or you've been holding yourself back from addressing something because this person holds out of the cards as to what the next step is. So for some of you, again, this might be at work. If this is in a relationship, it's like you want to tell your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, or soon to be whatever, that they are overstepping certain boundaries. But there's almost kind of like this underlying fear that if you do, this in-law is going to have a lot of influence over your partner, and that can ultimately mm, intervene between your relationship with your significant other. I hope that makes sense, because it is coming up as like somebody that is standing between you and the next step of something. So because of that, you have restrained yourself from saying something. And to be honest with you, I don't see you at this moment in time actually moving forward in that direction, but it is there. And I feel that the reason why it's there is like, hey, if you're going to use your ego energy, that ego aspect of yourself, why not use it for something like this? Why not use it for something where it would actually can be used in a appropriate, if that is a word to use, situation, right? Where it can help you with the courage to face this person, where it can help you with the courage to go ahead and say your piece when it comes to this individual. There's two individuals that are coming towards you with some type of an apology, some type. I don't know. I don't like this energy, to be honest with you, because I keep on looking at it and I keep on wanting to like walk away from it or like run away from it. It is a very sneaky energy. So kind of be aware, anybody that has broken your trust and now wants to come back around and apologize. Whether this is family members, whether this is friends, or whatever it is, there is these two. They're coming in sets of two, and it's kind of like what I don't like, because it's almost kind of like the moment that you give in, or the moment that you accept an apology or something of that matter, then there comes that, oh, by the way, can you help? So like an example will be like, let's say you got into a heated argument with your mother and your sister, right? Over who was gonna bring the pie for Mother's Day, right? And it's like, you always make the pie, but now your sister wants to make the pie, and your mother is like, you should. And it felt like somebody was ganging up on you, right? But and again, I'm using this as like a very simple, like stupid example, right? But, right, they made you feel a certain way, and they ended up bringing things again. We go back to this energy of your past, right? Well, you do, and they went off to a certain space, right, that was irrelevant to the pie discussion, right? So now you are upset with them and they are upset with you. Now you feel like you weren't in the wrong because they ended up again bringing the conversation to an extreme that was unnecessary, right? So you decide to distance yourself, right? So now they're both coming in to apologize, but this apology is not coming in empty, because they're coming in to apologize because there's something that they want to ask of you. There's something that they need from you. So be very aware of that energy, because like this is like the third time that it comes around, and I kept on wanting to avoid it because I don't know, I just didn't want to get into it. But that is, and yeah, I do that sometimes. Like I don't want to get into it, and it's like when spirit is like, no, you got to get into it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So yeah, because to be honest with you, I really want you guys this month, right, these 3 to 4 weeks, to really be about that self-reflection, that self-growth. Go into that space where you really find yourself and you really allow yourself to honor yourself. So when we're in that space of like, whether you want to call it shadow work, reflecting, whatever, right, transformation, there is this thing where dealing with outside things is really not something you want to do, right? I know I don't. When I'm really deep into shadow work, I really, that's all that I really want to do. But in the reality of life is different, right? There's still things that we have to deal with that are outside of ourselves. So for those of you that are having these individuals coming back with this loaded apology, just know that it is okay for you to not even interact with the apology, because it is a loaded apology in the sense that these individuals are coming over to ask for an apology just simply because they want something from you. All right, so let's go ahead and let's pull out a few tarot to see if there's anything else. A lot of you really are in the space of like not really wanting to do any more shadow work. It may feel that this song, right, this dance has been going on for so long, and you're just really wanting to kind of wanting it to be over. Like, how much more of this can I handle? How much more of this can I endure? And the question is not so much how much more. It's like, how many more times do you want to do it? Because I feel that a lot of these things that you continue to go into your shadow for are things that you are not really being completely honest with yourself. These are things that you are trying to kind of like brush the surface of it, and then when it really becomes very intense, when it's really getting to the core of the issue, you run away from it. When it really getting to the core of it, you walk away from it, and you're just like, no, that is too deep of a wound to go into. So this is not so much of like how much, because again, I do feel that there is this repetitive energy of like revisiting the same thing. So a very cool example to use, and I know a lot of you maybe like, because I feel like not everybody, but a lot of people can relate to going back to an ex, right? Let's say you break up with somebody and you get back with them. The behavior between you and them, both of you, doesn't change. You guys try for a little, you guys break up. And if it's not in a romantic relationship, think of it as a friendship, right? There's certain things that you take on, you do for a little, it doesn't work out, and then you let it go, and then you go back, and it's like until that karmic contract is not completed, the two of you are stuck in this revolting kind of door between the two of you. And it's kind of like that is the game that you have applied to your own shadow work, where you start to heal something, right? You start to go into the depth of something to be able to understand it, to be able to integrate it into who you are at this moment in time. And then it gets too dark, it gets too scary, it gets too whatever, right? And then you stop and you're like, wait, I'm good now. And then you go on with your life, and it's like the next time something else triggers you, it brings you right back into the space of like, hey, I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still here. I haven't been addressed. And what I'm trying to get to the point is that shadow work does not have to be like this all the time. It doesn't have to be this heavy. It doesn't have to be this painful. But the more that you resist it, I feel the more that it has become for you. Where a lot of you are still really much in a space where you really dread doing any type of shadow work. And to be honest with you, in that darkness, in that midst of the shadow, is where you grow, baby. So why wouldn't you want to grow? Like, why would you have, like, if you take a look at your life, right, and you take a look of what you've overcome up to this point, why are you going to allow your story to end here when there's so much more moving forward if you just address this one thing that has been lingering? For those of you that this does have to do with sexual abuse, and I'm picking up as a young child, this is something that may have started between the ages of 5 and 9, or may have gone on between those ages. My heart goes out to you. um I've worked with many clients that have been sexually abused. I know a lot of people that have been, and I'm not gonna sit here and say, "Oh, I know what you're feeling." Like, I have no idea what you're feeling. Like, I have no idea what torment that is. But what I can say is that if spirit is asking you to address something, if spirit is trying to hold your hand, if spirit is trying to guide you through something, and again, you can say spirit, you can say the universe, you can say God, you can say Jesus, whoever, however, whatever you believe in, you are more than welcome to change those words. But there is something here that spirit is trying to hold your hand and is trying to allow you to heal this area of yourself so that you can fully integrate this space of your life with who it is that you've become up to this point. All right, so let's go ahead and see anything else. Okay, what do I want to use today as a ooh. And I know we're going into summer, and I'm using like such a dark deck, but I really do love this deck. So we're doing the Seasons of the Witch Oracle deck. So this is going to be your closing message. Give me one card, Spirit, for Aries. I just laugh because, like, literally this is like what we've been talking about the entire time. Reflection, right? Reflection. Be wary of the things you believe to see with eyes wide shut, for they are mirrors of the mad and truth only spoken with a bleeding tongue. Right? When we really allow ourselves to really reflect on what is truly going on, we start to see that a lot of the narrative, a lot of the things that we told ourselves regarding something may be untrue. That something may have been a little bit harder, a little bit more painful, and a little bit more real than we like to admit. Reflection has come into your reading to ask you to be honest with yourself. Stop hiding from the situation you are facing. You must use where you are as a starting point for any real change to occur. It is difficult to face certain things. I say this as somebody that, within the past year have learned a lot of things that I suppressed as a child. And for many years, I avoided going into a certain age group when it came to healing within my own shadow work, because I honestly couldn't remember, right? I had blocked out certain things, and it is not like crazy things. It's like, you know, very simple things can have very different effect on people, right? how your nervous system responds to them as they're happening. And it wasn't until I really allowed myself into go into those spaces, those age groups of shadow work, that I really started to see the patterns that I have really been stuck in for so long. And the reason why I couldn't let go of those patterns were because there were things that occurred that, regardless of how simple they were, had a tremendous effect on my nervous system. And that is something that I really want you guys to really think about it, right? um you can have two people experiencing the same exact thing, and one of them can overcome, may seem like they overcome it. It is because their nervous system was able to regulate a little faster than the other. So take that as you may. Really give yourself the space during this time to really honor yourself and really go into the depth of whatever this is for you. Well, guys, that is all that I have for you. And as always, thank you for all your love and support. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing to the channel. And if you haven't done so, go ahead and do so. We would love to have you. Sending every single one of you love, strength, and blessing, guys. Take care. Love you all. Mwah. Bye-bye.